So hi guys, welcome back to our channel. We're here at Maplecroft again filming. So this episode we're going to bring you guys Elisa Lam. Now I know she's out there a lot right now and there's been a lot of publicity, but we really just wanted to give you our take on the case. We want to give you the presentation of what we saw. We're going to follow her timeline and we want to give you, our opinion. So this video, guys, strictly our opinions.
Our opinions and those of our guests.
And those of Elisa. Yes. So we just kind of want to give you our opinion of what we saw of footage and the conclusion that we came to from what we saw in that footage. We're actually going to have, now this is really cool, we have a friend of ours from California and she's going out to the Cecil Hotel live and we're going to have the spirit box going. So we'll be video chatting with her and we'll have the spirit box on.
Hopefully some others will come through.
Yeah, this is kind of an experiment for us because we want to see if we can, with her being there, if we can reach some of the spirits from the Cecil on the spirit box.
To come through the spirit box here, guys.
Yeah. So that should be really interesting. I'm excited about that. We also have an interview with Summer, who's a friend of ours, and she's a psychologist, and she's going to fill us in on bipolar and give us an idea of how, what Elisa went through. So,
and maybe she'll throw in her opinion on the case for us.
Yes, she has a theory as well.
Oh, does she?
Yes, yep.
Can't wait to hear it.
I know, me too. She's a true crime junkie as well. And so she has a theory, so she can give us her professional take on it, which would be really interesting.
Oh, and I talked to a good friend of ours, Deb, Glenn Tenza. He's a psychic medium. He's very good.
Yes.
He agreed to do an interview.
Awesome. So we'll have Glenn. This probably will be in 2 parts, guys, because we have a lot. We really
it's
have
a lot to cover.
It is a lot to cover, and I want to do her justice. I really do.
Same.
Because this was a sad case. So what do you say?
How about let's do
Let's do this.
Hi guys. So Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old college student from Vancouver, Canada. She attended the University of British Columbia. Her parents emigrated to Canada from Hong Kong and they opened up a Chinese restaurant. Now one day Elisa decides she'd like to travel. And her parents agree to this as long as she checks in with them every day. So she plans out this trip to California. Well, she arrives in San Diego, California on January 24th. She stays at this youth hostel, does a little touristy things, went to the San Diego Zoo. She then jumps on an Amtrak train, and she goes to Las Vegas.
LA.
LA.
Yep.
On January 28th, she checked into the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah.
Now they put her in a shared room, Deb. And apparently, supposedly, her roommates complained to the front desk that her behavior was a little off.
Right.
Like she's asking for passwords when people knock on the door.
Yeah.
So the hotel ends up giving her a private room.
Oh, wow.
Well, February 1st, she's scheduled to check out of the hotel, and her parents don't hear from her. So, of course, they call the local police department, and they begin an investigation. Now, the last people to have seen her was this last bookstore, and the clerk there said she seemed happy, like she didn't give her that anything was wrong at all.
Right. Wow. So Elisa is missing. They checked all the video footage at the hotel, and there was a lot of it because this was a big hotel. And then they finally found her. And they found her in the elevator. So there was some elevator footage. She was acting rather erratic, jumping in and out, hiding in the corner, hitting all the buttons on the elevator. So she was acting very erratic in that video footage. So the next thing they did put that out for the public. So you guys should watch that. You can definitely find that on YouTube.
Yeah.
So they presented that to the public, what they decided to let them see of that video. They presented it and they put it out there. So after a little bit, guests started to complain of the water pressure in the hotel. They said it was a funny color and it tasted funny. Now, I don't know why they drank it, but it was that bad, but they did.
Don't drink the water, guys.
Don't drink the water. So the manager actually sent the maintenance man up to the roof to check out the 4 water tanks. So he goes up there, and the cover was off of one of the water tanks. He climbed up and he looked in, and he found Elisa's body, and her clothes were at the bottom of the tank.
So of course an autopsy is performed. It does take a while to get these results in, but they found no injury to the brain, there was no trauma to the body, no sign of sexual assault. Even toxicology shows no drugs, no alcohol. They just found a little bit of red substance in her stomach. Well, they rule her death to be accidental drowning.
Right.
Now, police are actually still going through her belongings, which were put away, by the way. And they find her medications. So the officers start counting the pills, and it doesn't add up right. So it seems like she wasn't taking her medication properly.
Right. Okay. All right, so now I want to talk a little bit about Elisa. She seemed like a really sweet girl. I know she was brilliant. She was an avid reader. She loved Harry Potter. She was also diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Now, according to her sister, she never had any suicide attempts, but she did suffer from depression.
Yeah.
So I just want to read through some of her blog posts. I think they kind of, I just think it gives us an insight, and you can kind of see how she suffered a little bit. So on January 3rd, I'm having a delayed breakup meltdown, rough days. It sunk in how lonely I am. I just want a friend. No, I want more. I want a group of friends. On January 9th, a bit of an emotional wreck at the moment. Depression seems to mean that you've lost the ability to even help someone else in trouble. On January 14th, if you're ever feeling sad, just remember that there's someone out there. There's another person out there in the world. What? How is that supposed to help? Like at all, there's a person. And then at the top of her blog, you could put up a quote and just kind of leave it there. And her quote that she left up there was, "You're always haunted by the idea you're wasting your life."
So now let's look at where she was staying when she lost her life, Deb.
Yeah.
The Cecil Hotel. I mean, we both know this place has this long, dark history, right?
Oh, yeah. Bad.
It's like a block away from Skid Row.
Wow. It's crazy.
So the hotel's built in 1924, and by 1927 it's had its first suicide. And there's been countless numbers of violent deaths and suicide since.
Yeah.
It actually had 2 active serial killers staying at this hotel. Richard Unterweger. Now he targets
Sex workers.
sex workers, yeah.
He's,
And I mean, this guy killed between 12 to 15 people.
wow.
And ironically though, he hangs himself in prison, using the same knot he used on his victims.
Wow.
And then there's Richard Ramirez. Well, this is a sick dude, right?
Oh,
He's
he was bad.
into the satanic cult. He's a devil worshiper. Very dark guy.
Yeah.
This guy's a pedophile,
Right.
a rapist, a burglar.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that he actually used to kill his victims, strip outside the hotel, throw his bloody clothing into the dumpster there, and then walk through the lobby up to his room, unnoticed?
Wow, because it was so crazy there, no one would have noticed.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, I'd imagine there were countless number of spirits in this hotel, not to mention the dark energy that must be residual there.
I know, and the murders, it's Pigeon Osgood.
Pigeon Osgood, yes.
Yeah, this
That
poor
poor
lady,
woman.
like people loved her. She used to feed the pigeons. She was such a great lady, and she actually was living at the hotel.
Right.
And she was violently murdered and raped in her room.
In her room, guys.
At the hotel. You know, a lot of people were just devastated over that.
Mhm.
So yeah, a lot of dark energy and
Oh, I'd imagine so.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to say this is paranormal at all, guys.
right.
But, you know, who knows?
Yep. So, ironically, here come the Bordens again. Sergeant Louis D. Borden, on July of 1934, killed himself at the hotel.
Oh, wow.
Very ironic. Bordens again.
I know. I was popping up with the Bordens, guys.
Yep. All right, so now we need to look at Elisa's timeline, read a little bit more of her blog. So on the 24th, she checked into a youth hostel in San Diego. They have a lot of those around, and they're great because the kids can go on the students, and they're reasonable, and they're clean, and they're safe. So I think I found the one that she stayed at. It looked pretty nice. Some rooms had like one set of bunk beds, some had two. They had a common room and a game room, and I think that one actually included breakfast as well. So it was a 29-minute walk to the San Diego Zoo, and it was near the beach. So on the 26th, she did go to the San Diego Zoo, and she posted, today I took a long hot shower, stuffed myself silly on a $3 dinner.
$3 dinner.
A $3 dinner, yes, crazy, right? And she posted, it's been most productive and enjoyable. So she was having a good time. Then on January 27th, she posted, I woke up today with a terrific urge to lie in bed all day and read. Then she said, I'm going out tonight, but I really hope no creepers come near me. The speakeasy was awesome, but I lost a cell phone. Now I think I also found the speakeasy that she stayed at as well. There's a lot of them, again, in LA and San Diego, and they usually set up behind another establishment, so they're like hidden.
Yeah, that's what a speakeasy
is,
basically.
It's kind of cool, and some of them you have to have a password to get in.
Like a private club.
Yeah. So this one looked pretty cool. It had a nice menu, it had live music, but there were a couple of things that I found a little odd. First of all, why would you go to a speakeasy if you don't drink? So, but that's okay. I mean, she might have just wanted to listen to the music and have a bite to eat. And then the other thing that I found odd, she said, I lost a cell phone, not my cell phone, which led me to believe, did she have two cell phones? So I figured it was either that or she went out the following day and got another phone because she called her parents every day.
Yeah.
But either way, she seemed happy and relaxed. So she then takes the Amtrak to LA. She checks into the Cecil on the 28th. She checks in, like Sue had said, she was given a room with other students. So probably another way kind of for students to travel and save money, something that the hotel offered.
Right.
Now, according to the hotel, they claimed that her roommate said she was exhibiting, like you said, odd behavior. She'd write notes, go home, go away, ask for passwords to get into the room. So, of course, she was given a private room. So it makes it look as though she is exhibiting paranoia, which can be a part of bipolar as well. She was also seen in the lobby yelling, "I'm crazy, but so is LA," according to the hotel. But some people seem to think that she was having a psychotic episode in the elevator. Now, psychosis is a symptom of a condition. So sometimes a person with bipolar can have a psychotic episode, but it often occurs during a severe episode of mania or depression.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
Yeah. Now, during an episode, the brain is basically in a state of stress overload. Sleep deprivation can cause this as well. Now, I mean, I could sleep at that hotel because I can pretty much sleep anywhere. I fell asleep standing up before, but I know for a fact that I wouldn't sleep well. So she may not have been sleeping well either. So it's kind of a lot going on. So if we look at that elevator footage, it's very pixelated and there is no sound. So what can you analyze? Well, you can analyze the movements. So the behaviorist that looked at this footage, he said, it was very pixelated, but when you really zoomed in, you could see that she was smiling. And most of her actions had like a playful quality to them. She at one point looked almost like she was preening a little bit with her hair, almost like a sexual thing. A couple of times she seemed a little assertive. At one point she showed a little bit of anxiety, but for the most part, her actions were playful. So it almost looked as though she were playing a game of hide and seek. Now, the other thing that was just kind of odd and ironic on the side was that they figured out that the elevator footage was on the 14th floor, which happened to be the floor that Richard Ramirez stayed on. So I feel like when she left that elevator, she took a left, went to the window at the end of the hall because the police had brought in sniffer dogs, and that was the last place where they had picked her up. I think she took the ladder up to the roof and somehow ended up in that water tank. Now, I can't say how, and I can't say what happened between here and here, because I really don't know. So, we're gonna have to ask Elisa that. But one thing that I do know, she was fine until she checked into that Cecil in the hotel, and that's when things started to go awry, was after that. Now, I do believe she was an empath, and when you're an empath, you absorb all of everyone else's energy.
Absolutely.
And if you're in a building that has that much negative residual, you're going to absorb all of that. And if you don't realize that you're an empath and you're in a situation like that, it can be really difficult.
You don't know where all that's coming from that you're feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I know that I'm an empath and I can block myself, but
Me
I will
too.
tell you, if I went to that hotel, it would be very difficult for me, and I know what I'm doing. She had no idea. That poor little thing had no idea. So, I mean, it's possible that that could have influenced her as well. I mean, we can't go back and say 100% what happened. We're going to have to ask Elisa, but I don't like to talk about things like that unless I've seen them happen. I did have a case. I had a client, and she was an empath. She didn't realize that she wasn't what a strong empath. She was stronger than me, and she had some pretty clear psychic abilities as well. And she was also diagnosed with bipolar. Now, she purchased this home, a big, beautiful home, but it was a the energy in there, I mean, it affected me for days after I left. It really did. So it was basically a ton of negative residual, and I know because I've been following that house for 25 years, all of the negative residual. But it also had two men who had lived there who were very iconic figures. And they left behind a lot of that iconic energy. I mean, Henry Kissinger had dinner at that home. It was that type of a place. So she was absorbing all of that. And I will tell you, I tried to help, and it was heartbreaking for me to watch. She lost her house, she lost her family, and she lost her career. And she will tell you to this day that house was her demise.
It's awful.
Yeah. So Lisa had this amazing blog. She posted all kinds of beautiful pictures and quotes. But one of the things that this blog had that you could do was you could post future posts that would just pop up like months in advance.
Right.
And this was the last one that, I'm just going to read it, that she had put up, and it was in March after she passed. And I don't know, I just feel like it kind of reflects what she went through with her bipolar disorder. So I'm just going to read it to you guys. Why, she reflected, should there be this perpetual disparity between the thought and the action, between the life of solitude and the life of society? This astonishing precipice on one side of which the soul was active and in broad daylight, on the other side of which it was contemplative and dark as night. Good. So where are you parked, Emma?
We're right outside the hotel.
God.
There are a ton of people outside all seeing it here.
What did I tell you? There was going to be a ton of people outside.
See how to do this. Hold on.
I'm trying to flip you
You can
guys
see
sideways.
outside. They're all looking at it.
Yeah, it was better this one. Oh my God. Wow.
That's the hotel. Yeah, we're right here.
Are you filming?
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Yeah, are you filming, Cindy?
Yes.
All right, so this is awesome, Emma. Oh my goodness.
It took us forever to get here because it's just like there's so many red lights and there's so much traffic and there's so many tourists.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna get out at the end and do pictures.
Oh, awesome. That's great. So we're going to turn on the spirit box. Okay?
Okay, great.
All right. So everybody, I didn't even introduce, this is our friend Emma. And she's in California. She's got the Cecil for us. Hang on, I'm going to just turn on my voice recorder.
Exciting, guys. Cecil Hotel.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Sorry if the lighting's not good.
Oh no, you guys are perfect. I think it's us that we're dark.
There are so many people outside.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I had a feeling.
So Emma, we have the spirit box on. If you want to ask questions, we're going to try to reach Elisa. So let's ask for Elisa Lam.
Okay. Do you want me to do asking about here, or do you think you should ask?
Let's try it. Oh, I just heard a woman.
Yeah, I can't.
Elisa, was that you? We're trying to reach Elisa Lam.
Said please stop, I think.
Ask a question, Emma.
Hi. Is anyone there?
Can you help us to reach Elisa Lam, please?
One of them, someone just said Deb.
Emma, can you call out to the spirits over there?
Yeah. So anyone who wants to talk, come through.
See if you can ask for Elisa, Emma.
Yeah, Elisa, if you want to come through, this is a safe place to come through. If you want, just talk right into, talk into the red light.
Yep.
Talk into the red light. I just want to ask you some questions. We're just here.
I know there are a lot of spirits at the Cecil that want to come through. Can you guys let Elisa Lam come through, please? Elisa, can you say hi? We're doing your story. I'm Deb, this is Sue, and Emma is with you right now at the Cecil.
Hi.
And Salem.
And Salem and Teddy.
Can you tell us what happened to you?
We're doing your story. And we would like to hear from you. Give you a chance to speak. To let people know. So this was our spirit box session remotely with Emma at the Cecil again. We have a guy, Jimmy, that we've spoken with since we got our spirit box, and he always comes on and says, "What's up?" Give you a chance to speak.
What's up?
To let people know. Hi, Dad. How are you? Hi, Salem.
Can you tell us what happened to you?
We're doing your story. Hi.
Or if anyone else knew Elisa was here, you talk right into the red light.
Or anyone who knows what happened to her?
So Sue asked, this is when Emma was at the Cecil, does anyone know what happened to Elisa? And a woman says she was having trouble. Something trouble. Did you hear that? Something trouble. Did you hear that? Hi. Yeah.
Is Richard Ramirez there?
Yeah, I'm here with you.
Does he influence people there? I don't think it was a child. She wants you to, well, just turn around, yeah.
So Sue is asking if Richard Ramirez were still at the hotel, and she said, does he influence people there? And you hear so much.
Does he influence people there?
So that was pretty clear.
Just making her YouTube debut.
Aww. Well, we'll let you go, Emma, so you can go do your thing. Oh, thank you so much. We really appreciate
Oh,
this.
no.
This was
Thank you
amazing.
for letting us help and be in it.
This was
Be in the video.
great. Thank you so much, Emma. All
You
right,
can
I'll talk
sign
to you guys.
autographs.
Bye, Ted. Thank
Love
you
you
so
guys so
much.
much.
Bye.
Love you
Bye.
too.
Bye. Bye. Good luck to everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Summer, it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
We have our friend Summer with us, guys. Summer is a psychologist, so she's going to kind of help us out a little bit on some of the Elisa Lam case. Summer, can you tell us a little bit about bipolar disorder and what it is and how it affects people?
Sure. It's a fairly common psychological condition. It affects about 1 to 3% of the general population. For most cases, there are cases of pediatric onset bipolar, but for most cases of bipolar, you do typically get that first diagnosis around age 21 to 25. So right around where Elisa was in her age. It is a pattern of behaviors that are highs and lows. There's bipolar 1, bipolar 2. From what I've seen, it looks like she was dealing with bipolar 1, which is kind of a regular period of highs and lows, and kind of an equal spacing. So now when you hit that high, it can push into mania, which is a more significant, extreme high, and then you're going to be dealing with things like disordered sleep, high rates of energy, or irritability. It can go either way, followed by, and that might last for, days to weeks, but inevitably crashes back down to what we know is typical depression. Again, disordered sleep, but kind of more sleep versus if you're feeling high or manic, you might have no need for sleep. But on the flip side, when you hit depression again, you're sleeping a lot, you're bluey, you're withdrawn, all of those things that we know of what stereotypical depression. I think it's the mania piece of it that is more uncommon for people to have understanding about. But whether you're in a high or a low place, occasionally some people who are bipolar also experience, while they're manic, experience some factors or some attributes of psychosis, where not only do they have this kind of really high energy, really up emotionality, they also might have difficulties understanding what is real and what is not real. And from looking at the medications that Elisa was prescribed, she had 3 antidepressants on board, but she also had an antipsychotic. So my guess, without obviously ever having met her, was that she was experiencing some warning signs of that, if not a full-blown psychotic factor to what she was going through at some point in her life. But yeah, in a nutshell, really, bipolar, it's those highs and those lows. It's kind of the cycle that they cannot quite break out. So the treatments around that are aimed at evening out those periods of highs and lows so that you can keep more time in the middle somewhere, ideally, because then that's when you're most functional as a human. You can work and your relationships and all of that, and your self-care and all of that, and as well as typically some form of therapy is involved to kind of help you figure out how to find productive ways to weather some of that incessant ups and downs.
Yes, so that's a pretty difficult thing to deal with, I feel. And with her being so young, too, it must have been even more difficult. I feel like as I read through some of her blog posts, she seemed to
Mm.
suffer a lot from depression.
Yes, and also in reading those, one of the things that kind of jumped off the computer screen, I was going to say jumped off the page, but computer screen in this case, is a lot of difficulties kind of coming to grips with not always functioning as well as she wanted to or thought she should.
Yeah.
That she wasn't real fond of having to take medication. She didn't like feeling different, but she acknowledged she was struggling, but was also struggling with the fact that she was struggling, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Perfect sense.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to be tied down to taking medications on a daily basis or feel you should have to just to get by.
Right.
I mean,
No. Yeah, and she was taking quite a cocktail. I mean, that's another thing, is that she was on 4 daily medications that we know of, in addition to some other medications that she was taking over the counter. It sounds like, looking at the toxicology report, but 4 pretty heavy duty medications, and specifically that Seroquel that she was prescribed and was found in her bloodstream in a very subpar dose. That's a heavy duty antipsychotic. So even though parents have shared that she didn't have a history of self harm or suicidal thoughts, it's clear there was something going on there that warranted that level of medication, that she was at least starting to have difficulties looking in the mirror and knowing where she was at and kind of where else the world was at and where her place was and functioning within it. So that's one of the lingering questions, I think, is around those medications. But if you're looking at kind of that cocktail of meds, again, not having met her and not trying to kind of question any of the diagnoses or whatever she was prescribed or whatnot, that's a pretty beefy cocktail of meds, especially for someone as young as she is. So I think that reminds us that, yeah, she was really struggling. She was struggling.
Yeah. I could feel that from her. I really could.
I mean, to me though, based on what you just said, with her history of no indication of wanting to hurt herself, I mean, do you think that she should not have been on that huge cocktail of medication?
Well, and I would never second guess that, especially because I'm a psychologist, not a psychiatrist. I don't deal with prescribing meds, but I deal with, the kind of secondary function of that, the other pieces of that, of, the caring for specifically teenagers. The majority of my work is at a high school. I think if anything, what it does tell us is that she needed those medications. And we know from the toxicology report, for good or for bad, she was under medicating, or my gut says not medicating. Because it only takes 3 days for some of those medications to be completely out of your system. So it would not have taken very long. And we know, she was there 3 days at the hotel before she disappeared, and with some very erratic behavior before she disappeared. That she might have been, there's a condition called antidepressant discontinuation syndrome, which usually makes you pretty sick by day 3 after you cold turkey your medications. Up to half of people who discontinue psych medications, especially antidepressants, suddenly cold turkey will experience that, and it can mess up your sleep, and you got the flu symptoms going on and all of that. My guess is, either she was only taking her medication irregularly, or she had just plain stopped, and sent herself into a tailspin that, specifically, I think the antidepressant, discontinuing those probably made her feel pretty crappy. But the discontinuing, if she did discontinue that Seroquel cold turkey, it could have led to a psychotic break where she was legitimately no longer able to determine what was real, which was not real. Could have been having hallucinations, both auditory or visual. All of that, delusions, having really altered sleep patterns, and really having behavior that doesn't match what would be typical for a situation. And when I was listening to some of, the roommates that she had those first 2 days there at the hotel, when they were just, she was not making any sense. Her behavior did not match what was happening in the moment. They were pretty freaked out, it sounds like. And that could have been a good sign that, things were going down a slippery slope.
I mean, if she may not have stopped them cold turkey, couldn't that just happen if you were not taking them on a regular basis, skipping a dose?
Yeah, I mean, it was clear from the inventory of what was found at the crime scene that she had more pills in the bottles than she should have if she was taking them regularly and as prescribed. So at best, we know that she wasn't taking them as often as she should.
Now, what do you think would set her off to, excuse me, Summer, what do you think would set her off where she would think that she didn't need her meds anymore?
It might have been nothing more than trial and error. Debbie already mentioned, those blog posts and how desperate she was to seem typical. I think, it would be a lot to kind of jump into her head and try to make that guess. But, remember, this was a young woman that, yes, school wasn't going so hot, but she was able to travel independently. She came to LA by Amtrak and buses, and she was able to navigate that in a way that led her to feel, more confident than maybe she should have been, or that she didn't need it because she was being successful, and look at how good she was doing at adulting and, being out alone in her world. And, that might have bolstered her confidence. She had been struggling with not wanting to take the meds, but she clearly had not given up hope because she brought the meds. It's not like she left them behind in Canada. They were with her. They were in the room.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that would be my guess, is that from that pattern of behavior that she had established all the way through, of kind of really wanting to feel typical and wanting to feel successful and competent, followed her to California.
Yeah. Now, do you have a theory, Summer, as to what you think happened?
My guess is that, looking at it, yes, I mean, there's clearly, I think there's I don't know what else you guys have talked about so far, but the building has a dark history. But looking at that elevator footage specifically, that looks like a psychotic break. She's clearly talking to something or someone that we can't see. Now, whether that is some a delusion or hallucination that she's seeing and interacting with, because she can no longer tell what is here with me versus here in the world as a hallucination. I guess it's possible something lower vibrational was taking advantage of a weakened state because she wasn't in her best self, and might have, kind of made her more confused, because the building has a history of its own outside of Elisa. But I really think it was the medication and just a combination of bad decisions based on a compromised emotional state and mental health state. I don't think that her going into the tank was necessarily potentially suicide. I'm also a crisis responder. I spend a lot of time talking to suicidal people in moments of crisis. But to me, looking at where there is no history there, it's very atypical for a first attempt to end one's life is able to be carried through, especially where this wouldn't have been something she would have necessarily been able to plan, that there was water towers on the top of there. I think she was made a wild decision to kind of climb up that fire escape and go party on the roof, go run around the roof, and thinking it was safe or would be fun, and then just kind of got herself into a dangerous situation that she couldn't get herself back out of.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think it was a suicide attempt at all.
I don't believe so either. I really don't.
No, I don't think it was. Did you have any more questions, Sue?
No, I was just really more interested in hearing what she had to say. Like, I don't want to contradict anything. I do think, though, that bipolar is a label given to a lot of people too often, I think. And I do think medication is overprescribed, but I can see her standpoint being in the field. So,
It's a beefy cocktail, though.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it would be borderline unprofessional for me to second guess what she was prescribed.
exactly.
But it seems to suggest that the need that whoever her care provider team was, whether that was her, primary care physician, her psychologist, her psychiatrist, all of the above, somewhere in her caregiver team, someone went, we need to do something because she is on a dangerous slope.
Right.
It is I do agree with you. There are plenty of other diagnoses that can contribute to some of this. It could just be an old-fashioned anxiety disorder. She wasn't super social savvy. If you listen to how people interacted with her, even when she was at home, she was a little socially awkward. There could have been a lot of other diagnoses. But the fact is that Seroquel that trips me up. That it is a powerful
Same here.
antipsychotic.
I mean, same
Yeah.
here. And that's very dangerous. If I took that and then stopped taking it or started, irregularly taking it, whether or not I was bipolar or not, that just sets you off.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that messes
Yeah.
with you big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I don't know how much you guys talked about the history of the building and that, the long documented paranormal pieces that are going on in that building. I mean, there is that chance that, if there was, like I said before, something low vibrational was taking advantage of a girl who was clearly not in her right mind. I mean, I can see that happening.
Right.
But at the same time, you look at it's that elevator footage. That's what got me into the case. I was watching it since day one. Once the police released that 5 days after she was missing, I went, oh no. And I had already heard of the building, but I just went, no, that is not going to be a good outcome. I actually thought that they would find her deceased, but I thought it would be suicide at that point. Not knowing there wasn't a history, but looking at that, I'm like, oh, she is psychotic. She is not at home. She is without a support system whatsoever.
At least from the angle of the camera now. You can't see too far out.
And it was altered. I don't know if you guys talked about the
Yes.
Deb and I were
Time
discussing
mistake.
that, yes.
Yeah.
which makes me a little question about, well, why would that be, and why is the timestamp so difficult to read?
Exactly.
Exactly.
What aren't we seeing there? Yeah. Was there something we're not seeing, but was there?
Right. Was there someone there? Now, there was a behaviorist who had analyzed the video, looking at her movements, and he had said she looked relaxed. They zoomed in, you could see a smile. She didn't seem scared, and she seemed playful, almost as if she were playing a game of hide and seek. Like there really was that person
Yeah,
out
especially
there.
that peek out.
Right.
That was very playful. Yes.
Yeah. So she didn't really, I guess at one point she showed a little bit of anxiety. But for the most part, she was relaxed, she was happy, she was smiling, she thought she was playing a game. And at one point she seemed almost like they said sexually preening, a little bit. So, I really don't know what to think about it. Like, I thought a psychotic episode because that's what it looks like in that video. But
From our angle, I would love to see the hallway. We don't know.
Right. Now, I think they did have cameras in that hallway. They're just not
like
showing
she
us
said,
all the footage.
those tapes were messed with, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and what I don't understand is, although I have heard that from a couple different times, that it was one of the flaws of the hotel was that there are a lot of blind spots on a lot of floors. That it's not, it's not every hallway does not have cameras and whatnot. I just don't see how that can be the last image they have of her, because she either went out that window up the fire escape, or she went to that door, which I don't think she went to the door, because I do believe the alarm would have sounded, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But there should be footage of her leaving the elevator, at least knowing which direction she went.
Exactly. I mean, it just seems too convenient to me to only be certain angles being shown to us,
Right. Exactly.
I don't know. I think there's more to the story than
meets the eye.
Exactly.
I do.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to know it, because I think our opportunity to know about it was when the parents sued for wrongful death a couple of years ago and failed to prove that case. So I think that was, if we were going to get additional information, it would have come out through the parents trying to
Right.
with that suit. And so
Yeah.
I think we're going to be left with a pretty big question mark
I think so
for her,
too. And
unfortunately.
we had also talked about the fact that I do believe she was an empath. And I think my idea was that this poor little thing didn't realize she was an empath, and she didn't have a chance in that. That energy in that hotel is so bad. It's negative residual, and you've got all the human
Oh, yeah, I know.
spirits. And, she was absorbing all of that. So poor little thing, I mean, sure, that had a part of it as well. That may have affected her because she didn't know. So it could have been a combo of her not taking her meds and, absorbing a lot of that energy, or it could have been foul play. It's hard to
It's not
tell.
a nice neighborhood. It's not a good neighborhood.
Exactly,
There's that
exactly.
piece of it too.
I mean, there's
So-
a lot,
Yeah.
a lot of darkness in a hotel,
Yeah.
living and non-living.
Right, exactly.
You know?
It's
Yeah.
just
And she's a young kid on her own.
on
I
her
mean,
own. Yep. It's a combo.
I mean, I don't know how much traveling you ladies did at 21, but I didn't do a whole lot besides being on college campuses at 21.
Right.
I was living in Boston, and I didn't stray that far from campus even then.
Right.
Because you're still trying to get your bearings in the world and figure out, and
Yep.
I don't know a whole lot about the town in British Columbia where she was living, but
Right.
LA's a big difference.
Oh, it's a big
And if you're
difference,
in
I'm
LA in
sure.
a
Yeah.
not great neighborhood,
and
Right.
you think you're talking to somebody who's friendly, and really they're,
And really, they're
and,
not.
you don't
and there's
know.
a lot of shady characters
That's
in
what
that
I'm saying.
building,
I just wish we
so-
could see more angles.
Yeah.
I think there's just more to this
Yeah.
than the girl being off her meds, and
Yeah.
I don't think suicide was a thing.
And I
don't
think they.
no suicide.
No.
I think that is,
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I think they.
Not likely.
I think they presented to us on that footage what they wanted us to see and what they wanted us
Exactly,
to think.
exactly.
And yeah, I thought that. I really did. And I think that was their intention all along.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I honestly think the fact that they only released it after 5 days, I don't know. That they released it to try to find her, but like you say, what are we not seeing?
Mm-hmm.
And the piece of that is something is edited out. So what is that thing that's edited out? But at the same time, there wouldn't be a whole lot, in my opinion. I mean, as a true crime junkie, as you guys are too, I don't think there's a whole lot of benefit in them releasing the footage of her in the elevator if they didn't expect to find her alive, though, at the same time, to play devil's advocate. Because what would be their benefit in sharing footage to the public and, putting these parents, standing silently on TV because of language difficulties and whatnot, but if they didn't expect to find her, because there's no benefit to having the general public look for her if they suspected foul play necessarily.
Right.
Like, that could compromise their investigation, not really support it. Like,
Right.
if they thought she was still in the building, right? Because they're saying they didn't see her leave the building. They're saying that we don't have any proof she left the building. Then why would they not just be passing out flyers to guests of the hotel? Like, why make it public if there's not something you think the public can give you
Right.
to solve it? That always confused me too, just because that kind of goes against common sense.
Right.
If
And
nothing
then,
else.
they wanted to put out their presentation of what they wanted us to think.
What the parents to think.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Makes
know.
perfect sense.
Yes.
I just.
I don't know if we'll ever know. I mean, they've been so resistant to having very many people investigate in the building. You watched Ghost Adventures. Zach boasted that no one's going to investigate it ever again, but I think that's probably not likely. But I don't know if did you guys get a chance to watch? You probably did the new 4-part documentary on Netflix.
Yes.
There's a lot there. Like, even like the hotel manager, I wanted to, and I'm very nonviolent. I'm an Aquarian. I'm not,
Right.
I'm an empath too. I don't like to fight with anybody. I really don't, unless I have to. But I don't like to. But I wanted to shove her, like, through the screen. Like, she's just so disconnected from that building and the history of that building.
Yeah.
And it's almost like she defends the building.
Yeah.
And she'll talk about the 16 known deaths, but it's more than that. That's not even including the
Oh,
victims of, Underberger and Ramirez. That's not even including those people. But they
Right.
know of 16. The police will confirm 16 on the property.
right.
So,
Right, it's almost like a safe haven for bad behavior.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
it is, I just don't want to, I don't know kind of what you guys are picking up, but on a personal note, I don't like any kind of suggestion that she's there, because I don't want her there.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I don't want her lingering
No.
in that place.
No.
I want to believe that, we're restored to wellness when we cross, and that, she's getting a kick out of
Watching
all of us being
everything.
interested
Yeah.
in the case.
Yeah.
But
I
other
think
than
she
that,
Yeah.
I think
I don't think she's stuck there either.
No,
But
I
I
think
think
she's
like if you call someone, they're able to come, but not be stuck there.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I don't think she's
which,
stuck
in
there.
my opinion, then only enforces or reinforces the fact that it was an accidental death. For whatever reason, she got in the tank and accidentally drowned. I don't always like to look at the official cause of death on a death certificate and go, okay, yeah, that's what happened. But in this case, accidental drowning, at the end of the day, that's what sounds more likely than anything else. But as you say, that is based on what they had shown us.
Exactly. And
what
how
they
many
had told
times?
us.
How many times did they change that death certificate too?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was twice. It went back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I just think that the one comment that they made during that documentary that was, I think, pretty telling is that she had, or again, like you say, what they told us is that she had, no superficial wounds to her body. She wasn't dragged up, the tank. She didn't get scraped as she went into the tank, or anything like that. So, and if she was knocked out and brought to the roof, like, she would have been difficult to get in there. Somehow she got in there, and unfortunately met her end there. I don't want to believe that that's due to foul play, though. I think that's the less likely, unless, again, I keep going back and forth. I think you guys are probably doing the same thing.
And that's just the thing. It's possible. It's foul play.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Oh, it is a possibility. But it's just also it's a very strange case, and someone needs to ask her directly.
Yep. Maybe we'll try that, Deb.
Let's do that.
Let's do
try
it.
And
See if you can call her to you. I don't know. I would really love to hear. And maybe eventually we'll get to that point where someone will be able to give us a nudge in the right direction. But as you guys know, in terms of, you don't go anywhere when you investigate and don't at least try to debunk. You can't completely throw, that part of your brain out. And so if I think about, was this paranormally related? Was this foul play related? Was this mental health related? I think the most common statistically is you're more likely to have a psychotic break than you are to be murdered. And so, or become possessed or negatively influenced by something that means you harm. With her medical history, to me that still feels the most plausible.
Right.
But it's a really sad story. It's bipolar is a beast.
It's so sad.
And if she wasn't bipolar, as you mentioned, you think it's overdiagnosed, and I think a lot of mental health conditions can be overdiagnosed. If that's the case, if she was misdiagnosed, she was certainly mismedicated.
Exactly.
Because that, again, is a doozy of a cocktail.
Yeah.
Again, another possibility.
Cocktail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing when I looked at what she was taking. I'm like, wow, that's a lot,
It is a lot, and it's a very bad thing to be on if you're not taking it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I mean, it messes with your mind.
Yeah.
You just
exactly.
Yeah.
So, we may never know, but we're gonna try and see what happens.
Yeah. And thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us.
Yes, Summer, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. That
No
was
worries, and thanks for bringing some more attention to the case too, because I don't think one person is going to figure out. I think it's going to take
Many.
a whole lot. The hive mind. It's going to take the hive mind to kind of get closer to finding out what happened to her.
Exactly.
Well, be sure to watch the video because we have a few more interviews that maybe
Very
we can.
interesting.
All
Yeah.
Can't wait. Sounds great, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right,
Summer.
take care.
All right. Good night.
Bye.
Bye. So this is turning out to be a really crazy case. Our experiment went really well, I thought.
Oh, gosh.
You know, we had Emma at the Cecil, and we had spirits coming through here on the spirit box from the Cecil. So that was, I was really excited about that because it was an experiment, and I wasn't sure how it was going to work, and they did come through. So that was really interesting. We had our interview with Summer, and I have to apologize, guys, because we're at Maplecroft and we don't have internet, so we have to do video chat and use the data on my phone. So some of the visual is a little bit in and out of focus.
But you should be able to hear it.
Yeah,
The
you'll be
audio
able
is
to,
good.
right, you'll be able to hear the whole interview. We just wanted to apologize for that because that was out of our control when we filmed here. It's an old house, you know.
We're not exactly high tech.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, but it was a great interview. It was interesting to hear Summer's take on the whole thing from a psychologist's point of view and from the footage that they showed us. We can only go on, right now, we can only go on what they've shown us for footage. We can only go on what they've told us. So it's all assumption. We really don't, we won't know unless we can speak with Elisa herself.
And that's the whole thing, Deb. I mean, you got this whole elevator video, but at that angle, yeah, it kind of makes it look like she's having this episode. But
Right.
what if there is somebody standing there off camera that we can't see?
Exactly.
You know, that's the whole thing, guys. You don't know.
No. So we're going to do a part 2 for you guys, and we are going to interview a friend of ours, Glenn Tezza, who is a psychic medium. He's very gifted. He's been working with the police for years and years. He solves a lot of missing person cases. So we're going to speak with him, and he's also going to see if he can get Elisa to come through for us so that she can tell us what happened. So hopefully, you know, she comes through and she wants to communicate with us. I always, when we do these cases, I feel very, very close to the victims.
Oh, yeah.
And
I mean,
you just get attached
so
to them.
involved.
Right, and I think for us it's a little bit different. Now you have people, there's a lot of people out there that do the true crime videos, and they're wonderful. I love them. I watch a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the difference with us is that they tell their story, but they don't communicate with them. But because it's what we do, we actually communicate with spirit. So for us, it's a little bit more emotional, and it's a little bit harder for us, and we do get more attached, I think, a little bit to the victims because we do communicate with them.
I mean, I felt she's been around since we've been doing this story.
She is,
personally.
exactly. And I feel like every case we do like this, they hover and they stay around with us to make sure we get everything out the way they want it presented. So they're with us the whole time we're working on these cases. And I don't get rest until we finish them. So,
It'll be interesting. Stay tuned.
yeah. So thanks again so much for watching, guys. We really appreciate it. Be sure to check out our Facebook page for Lizzie Borden Tour Guide Investigations as well.
Yeah.
Be sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you like, and you know, comment too. We love to hear your comments and
Any input?
any
you know?
input at all. You know, we would love to hear your theories as well. I'm sure you have them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, thank you so much for watching, and we love you guys, and be sure to share the love.
Stay tuned. Bye.